One, two, three. And as you see, I just put together this new background, and we have the you can actually get the shirt now. So if you've been wanting to support the one, two, three, and you're just tuning in, you definitely could do that. Um, my brand settings, it's right now everything's on blue, and we don't have one, two, three on here, but then the background has the one, two, three, so that's pretty good. I'm gonna real quickly. Am I? No, I am. Okay. Huh. Caption colors and all that. Undo all my graphics. Oh, well, doesn't matter. Today, I am here to talk to you kind of from a different position. As I'm sure a lot of you know, I'm going to first, we're going to talk about a of the week. And you're like, after you hear the wrestler of the week, you can decide to stay or not stay. But I really do encourage you to stay. This is going to be a talking point, and I think that some people might have something to say about it, and I kind of look forward to hearing them down the road. So hopefully, it's a conversation that I want to start because it's actually important to me. Cody Garrett Runnels Rhodes, born June 30th, 1985, is an American professional wrestler. Is widely known for his tenure in All Elite Wrestling, where he was the inaugural and record three-time AEW Team Champion and also served Executive Vice President. He rose to prominence during his time with the WWE from 2006 to 2016, where he performed under his real name and under the ring name Stardust. Rhodes has also wrestled for various other notable promotions, including Total Nonstop Action, Ring of Honor, and New Japan Pro Wrestling. Outside of wrestling, he serves as a judge on the competition series Go Big Show and stars with his wife Brandy show Rhodes to the Top. Rhodes is the son of wrestler Dusty Rhodes and the half-brother of fellow wrestler Dustin Rhodes. After an amateur wrestling career that resulted in him becoming a two-time Georgia State champion, he followed his father and older brother's footsteps into the professional ranks and joined WWE in 2006. Initially being assigned to the company's developmental territory, Ohio Valley Wrestling, after being Triple Crown champion in Ohio Valley Wrestling, he was promoted to WWE's main roster in 2007 and remained there for 9 years, performing under his real name and later under the gimmick of Stardust. During his time with WWE, Rhodes became a two-time Intercontinental Champion and was a prolific tag team wrestler, winning 6 tag team championships, 3 World Tag Team Championships, and 3 WWE tag teams. With 4 separate tag team partners, Rhodes left WWE after requesting his release in May of 2016. Following his departure from WWE, Rhodes began wrestling on the independent circuit, also making several appearances in TNA. He wrestled under the shortened name Cody due to WWE owning Cody Rhodes' name until 2021 when WWE surrendered their trademark. In the time frame spanning from early 2016 to early 2017, he competed at WWE's WrestleMania, ROH's Final Battle, New Japan's Wrestle Kingdom events, as well as appearing for Impact Wrestling, formerly TNA, at Bound for Glory in September of 2017. Rhodes wrestled in ROH, where he became a one-time ROH World Champion. He would later become a one-time IWGP United States Heavyweight Champion, one-time ROH World Six-Man Tag Team Champion with the Young Bucks. In September 2018, he won the NWA World Heavyweight Championship due to the ROH's partnership with the National Wrestling Alliance, and with he and Dusty becoming the first father and son to win the title. All totaled between WWE, AEW, NWA, ROH, New Japan, Rhodes has held 15 championships, including 2 world titles. And in late summer of 2018, he held the NWA World IWGP US and ROH 6-man titles simultaneously. In January of 2019, Rhodes was unveiled as the executive vice president of the newly formed AEW, where he would also serve as wrestler. During his run in AEW, he became the inaugural holder of the AEW TNT Championship, and in May of 2020, and would win the championship a record 3 times after failing to negotiate a new contract, which his position as an EVP, and he and his wife departed AEW on February 2022. Now, I know that a lot of people have already said that they are tired of talking about Cody Rhodes. And they might, and you might not want to hear about me talking about Cody Rhodes because you just don't really understand. And that's fine. But I had a different take on it, and I wanted to share it. And I wanted to, because it's a concern of mine. In 2018, I want to say, I think that's when AEW started, when we were watching All In. There was a reason that I started really paying attention to AEW. And that was because with All In, it was an entirely new thing. And the reason it was a new thing is because they were talking about some things that mattered to me. Around that same time, John Oliver from Last Week Tonight did a special talking about contracts with wrestlers, specifically, as well as that the WWE being in a situation where they didn't pay wrestlers, or they paid wrestlers a certain amount, but they didn't give them a health insurance of any kind. That there was no protections at all for those wrestlers, and so they were kind of on their own. And he did this huge piece, like 15 minutes. I'll try and link it in the comments, because I am going to go and grab this and put it on YouTube probably immediately, because I want to make sure that this gets out there. And if you're on my chat right now, I can't see you because I can't even get captions up today. It's pretty bad. But it is going to the chat room, and that's great. So if you're actually seeing this, then that's really good. Because I know we are streaming right now, but I know that I might not have any eyeballs on me right now, and that's fine. But I know that this will be recorded, and that's fine. He went and he talked about it, and one of the things he talked about was 2 things, which of course was Owen Hart's death, where there was no one who'd set up any kind of fail-safe or anything, and nobody said, hey, we don't think that he should be on a harness 90 feet up. So it was just like the company decided that was an okay thing, and it was an okay thing. And then he fell 90 feet to his death through a turnbuckle. Not a turnbuckle, but it's not the turnbuckle. I'm trying to think. Through the post. And I'm not 100% sure if that's true, but I know that he did fall to his death because it was a long way hit. Uh, he either hit the ring or he hit the ring post. The ring post, that's what it is. And it was a problem. And there have also been many wrestlers who have had massive health conditions that were not paid for. There are past wrestlers from all the different territories and all the different that have, that are dealing with all kinds of ailments. There's some that because of being on the road or because being on the thing, there was issues with drug abuse and alcohol abuse. And these are known facts. Like, you can look them up. And then there's also the wrestling that is just straight out not safe, that happens all the time and puts and can hospitalize wrestlers, and they have absolutely no safety net as far as insurance is concerned. Now, after that report, and they were talking, and AEW was coming up as a concept. Cody Rhodes was the front man for that, and he was at the podium, in front of everybody, saying this is going to be different. We are going to of everybody better. And up in this whole time, I had heard that basically, if you had an office job, then you were taken care of. But if you didn't have an office job, then you didn't have health care. You were still an independent. But there was this dream, there was this idea that Cody Rhodes was, saying that, hey, this is a thing that we're happening. That the wrestler could be safe. We take care of our wrestlers better. That we'll have the best amount of money for our wrestlers. And that is a thing that strikes me. Because we're pretty sure that from All In to All Elite Wrestling, that while I don't know for a fact, I'm pretty sure that Cody that went and approached Tony Khan and went and approached all the people that were involved and kind of put together the deal in the first place. And the reality is Tony Khan is the money, and Tony Khan is the one that makes the ultimate decisions because he has the money. But the reality of that is that Tony Khan, Cody Rhodes was trying to build something. And yes, some of the things he was doing as far as on TV might have not been as palatable as people would like. And the fact that he was going to do his two shows, the Big Show and the Go Big Show and Roads to the Top, and some of the promos where he was definitely, considered himself very impressive, were not necessarily palatable. And I get that. I do. But also understand that one of the main things that seemed to be a revolution that he was pushing was this protection for wrestlers. And what hasn't been discussed on any of the wrestling programs that I've heard, and that's why I want to bring it up. And maybe you'll say it's not that important, but it is important. Is if Cody Rhodes was like, hey, this is a thing, and he kept asking about it, and he's like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to need, this amount of money, and I would like to do a little bit of booking. But one of the things is I want this particular administrative thing to happen so that way wrestlers are protected, or that way they get this amount of money. If he kept saying that, and that was the deal breaker, because that's the thing that people aren't talking about. They're talking about, well, it's too bad because these things aren't, they're not protected because they're under contracts, and they can get really hurt really bad and not have protections. But Cody Rhodes, and this was something that Brian Last said that was weird. It was like the weirdest disconnect, or it was either Jim Cornette or Brian Last on the Jim Cornette Experience that just released not that long ago. He was always talking about, that we'll do this thing for the wrestlers and stuff. And then the next, but, Cody's not that important, but, he was going to do this thing for the wrestlers. And the next segment, they were talking about how, gosh, man, something needs to be done about the wrestlers because the WWE is not going to do anything about the wrestlers. What about the possibility that Cody Rhodes trying to get this to happen? And when you realized it wouldn't happen, and think about this, if this wouldn't happen, if you went to someone and you thought they were cool and a good person generally and all the things, and you thought that they were better than something, and you thought that what you were part of was better than something, and you kept asking, hey, can we take care of something that's important? And they just said, no. This is the most I'm ever going to do about that. And by the way, it turns out that you're not as valuable, even though you helped to build this thing. But the reality is from a business standpoint and from a wrestling standpoint, you're just not really much now. I mean, granted, you put this whole thing together, but the reality is we don't need you anymore because we have CM Punk and Bryan Danielson. And you mix all that together, and you got to think that would be something that someone might go, oh. And you might say, you know what? I'd rather deal with the devil that I know. I might as well just go back to WWE because I know I'll get no from him all day long. But I thought this was safe, and this place isn't any more safe than there. And at least when I'm at the WWE, I'll know that I'm dealing with people that don't care. Kenny Omega, when he was reached out to Dave Meltzer, and keep in mind, this is just all this is a hypothesis that I totally am cool with people coming on to the channel and debating with me on. That's fine, perfectly acceptable. Just keep, don't call me names. I don't appreciate it. I'll probably turn off your comment or whatever if everybody wants to call each other names. That has no value to me. But from that postulation is, like I said, and then Kenny Omega was saying, well, we didn't really have the same thing. Wanted to have a place for our wrestling, which is interesting to me because I've always thought that AEW was designed as a showcase of all kinds of wrestling. But that's not what Omega said. He said our wrestling, our type of wrestling. So if you're not really a big fan of like how the Young Bucks wrestle, how like the where they brought in some of the people that aren't exactly, I don't know, to me it's like kind of a different style, and it's not really necessarily what I would consider a good style. Those people are what he means. He means him and the Young Bucks, and people that wrestle like him and the Young Bucks. And people that don't wrestle like him and the Young Bucks, that's not. So they're not necessarily going to protect people like FTR and MJF and people that wrestle a certain way, that's not as important to them. So I wonder where that's going to lead to. But more importantly, what I'm concerned about, I'm concerned about that the ideas of the revolution, the soul of the revolution, just walked out the door. And then the question is, what are we supporting anymore? Because I supported AEW because of those concepts, because of the idea of people work of also AEW, working together with these different companies, these other independent companies, which they'll probably continue to do. But that was one thing that I saw at the very beginning, was when AEW was going to independent shows and reaching out to those independent promoters and reaching out to those independent stars and saying, hey, we want you to be part of our organization. Now, it's possible that in 30 minutes, Cody Rhodes could walk in through Raw. He could be he could be announced for Raw. And it would make a lot of sense because Bobby Lashley is out on injury and they need a heel. And I'm guessing that they'll bring him in as a heel, I would think. Because right off the bat, the WWE isn't going to respect him, and the people that watch both WWE and AEW are going to think he's sold out by going back to WWE. So they might as well make him a heel because everybody else is going to hate his guts. Even though I'm looking at it and I'm saying, there might be some good reason to this. Let me share a little personal story. When I was an associated senator, I wanted to do something that I thought was the most innocuous thing in the world. I wanted to make a paper, just a flyer, telling people about the fact that they could sell their books on a recycler program that the bookstore. Now, the bookstore made no money off this. They weren't charging students to do this, and it was actually counter to their business model. So basically, it didn't help them except for that it was like on their site. So people would be going through their site, and that was about it. But it allowed you to sell your textbooks to other students. Because at first I was looking at like a textbook exchange or something like that. And then I found out that there wasn't. Okay. And I fought for a year and could not legally get an advertisement that all it did was said, hey, you can sell your textbooks or you can trade your textbooks here. Could not do it. Could not get it done. And because of that kind of thing, I look at that and I'm like, at the end of the day, you may have some really big dreams, but at the end of the day, if you're dependent on people that have the money, then they still get to make those decisions. Maybe that's Cody's thoughts. Maybe Cody's thought is, I don't have enough money. And I'm not necessarily enough money from AEW, so I take as many $1 million contracts as I want if I'm going to make this happen. Maybe he'll work for 3 years in WWE and take his whatever million that they offered him, and he'll create the wrestling company that he wanted to make AEW into. But people that are like looking and saying, well, if I look at it, if I got Brandon Danielson and I've got like, I have a good friend, like a really that I met through gaming. It's a great guy. And he'll probably get this first because I'm going to post this on my Facebook. And he's like, yeah, they got Danielson and Punk, so who cares? Cody it's no big loss. But it is a loss because it's a soul. It's a person that was working towards a goal, that was part of the revolution, that was part of this thing. It could have been, because we don't need left. And usually people that have their entire soul in things don't just walk away. And if they do, then you probably should actually look into it and not just go, oh, well, he's gone. And yes, I'm pissed off about it to a point. I'm pissed off because I just don't understand why someone doesn't get that they don't get that one of the things that Cody Rhodes wanted to do was make it safe for wrestlers. And if you think about it, that would be the most costly thing. It's like, yeah, we're not going to unionize our wrestlers, so, we're not doing that. We're not going to do that. And, who knows how he wanted to book himself, and maybe that was a problem. And obviously, Randy was a problem. And I know that there were problems. But I also know that he had a goal that he was working towards that's never came to fruition, that they never even talked about. Another thing that's really weird is the Nightmare Factory, because the Nightmare Factory is something that Cody Rhodes runs. So I don't know how that's going to work, because AEW uses the Nightmare Factory and has a lot of students from the Nightmare Factory that are going to be going, that, they go and fight on Dark and they come on to Dynamite. And I don't know how, if he is going to, in fact, be part of the WWE, if he's going to go be part of the WWE, I don't know if he gets to be part of the Nightmare Factory. I mean, maybe he's going to do something else entirely. I mean, everybody's like, oh, I think he'll be in the WWE. That it must have been the money, but you never know. Maybe he won't be. Maybe he's got something else. I don't know. Maybe he needs a moment to his life. Anyway, thanks for listening. And like I said, if you disagree, feel free to talk to me about it. If you have proof that what I'm saying is not how that worked, feel free to talk to me about it. But don't be like, Cody sucks, because I don't want to see that, because that has no value whatsoever. Because that is not open discourse. This guy sucks is not open discourse, and I try to be a smarter wrestling program. Thanks for tuning in. You can get this new shirt on tpublic.com/gamingfix or /stores /gaming-fixx. You can get this shirt right here. You can get a really nice 4-color and also a retro. It's really nice. It says the 1, 2, 3, and it's a really pretty cool shirt. This is our new logo, and if you want to check it out, you're more than welcome to. All right, folks. Well, that's the show, and enjoy Raw. Do what you got to do.